There's been a lot of talk on the Deltarune community about who the angel might be, and what its role is supposed to be on the great narrative. Today I'll try to answer precisely that, perhaps with a more real perspective on what the angel is and its symbology on real-life religion, starting with, of course, the main depiction of an angel in these games, the Deltarune. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The Deltarune can be found all across Undertale, and it's pretty much the game's icon besides the heart/soul, and it's a religious symbol of great importance. We see it on Toriel's robes, on the Knight's robes, on the Judgment Hall. It's, in essence, the equivalent of the cross for the Kingdom of Monsters. According to Gerson, the Deltarune predates the written history, and its original meaning has been lost to time. All they know is that the triangles symbolize the monsters, and the winged circle above symbolizes something else. Most people say it's an angel from the prophecy. Legend has it that an angel who has seen the surface would descend from above to bring the monsters freedom. But lately the people have taken a bleaker look, calling the winged circle the Angel of Death, a harbinger of destruction, waiting to free the monsters from this mortal realm. And I want you to keep some of those details in mind, mainly the angel who has seen the surface. Depending on the route we choose during the game, technically one version of the prophecy is fulfilled, those being the spirit of Kara annihilating all of the underground, Asriel ascending to the god of hyperdeath to absorb all the souls of the underground, or Frisk being the metaphorical angel that frees the human souls and destroys the barrier liberating the monsters. And as a fun detail, some of the boss monsters that we fight during the genocide route, like Undyne the Undyne and Metaton Neo, has some resemblance to the emblem of the Deltarune, the angel fighting to save the monsters. So that's why, when Deltarune was released back in 2019, some people had a lot of questions. The game had the name of this mysterious emblem from Undertale, and we know that at first, during the transition between Undertale and Chapter 1 of Deltarune, the fandom thought that it was going to be an alternate universe or some kind of sequel. Toriel's school from the end credits of Undertale, it's pretty much the same of Deltarune, but when we entered the game it was very clear that this wasn't the same world, but one thing was very consistent, aside of most of the characters being here, and that was the Deltarune symbol and the prophecy. And all of this having a bigger role on the story of this new entry. And before we get into that, there's one last thing. What is Delta anyways? Delta, it's just the Greek equivalent to the letter D, and has a lot of different meanings depending on the science or magic. On math and physics, it represents a variable, something derived from other thing, a derivated story from Undertale, another future different from the tale we know, where the monsters never had to go underground, and if we think about it, whatever happened to Noel's sister happened when they were all kids, at the same time that Frisk fell to the underground. But the question is still the same. Why is this emblem so important all of a sudden? The Deltarune religion is just seen as, well, Christianism, let's say. Okay, first of all we have to go over the real prophecy, the one we see on Chapter 4, since, as we all know now, Ralsei never told us the whole truth. The prophecy, which whispers among the shadows, the legend of this world, Deltarune. A world basked in purest light, beneath it grew eternal night. If fountains freed, the roaring cries, and titans shaped from darkened eyes, the light and dark both running dire, a countdown to the earth's expire. But lo, on hopes and dreams, they send 3 heroes at the world's end. The first hero, the cage, with human soul and parts. The second hero, the girl, with hope crossed on her heart. The third hero, the prince, alone in deepest dark. And last was the girl, at last was the girl. Love find its way to the girl. The pointy-headed will say toothpaste and then boy. The queen's chariot cannot be stopped. The lord of screens cleaved red by blade. The flower man trapped in a silo. The knight which makes with blackened knife shall duel with heroes strife by strife. Up to this part, it only describes the stuff that happened or will happen in future chapters. But here's the weird part. They'll hear the ring of heaven call, and see the tail of hell take crawl. The angel, banished, will finally meet with its desire. Okay, do you see what's wrong here? The angel is depicted as something negative, and also, the main prophecy says, the heroes should vanish the angels of heaven. Okay, but the angels of heaven. The heroes are not the first characters to mention something about heaven. Spanton begs to the heavens to make him successful again. He needs Mike to come back, or whoever he thinks Mike is. Maybe that's why the prophecy mentions they'll hear the ring from heaven call, meaning that Mike finally comes back, or by default, the angel comes back. That might imply that there are two antagonic forces at play, Hell, mentioned as the tail of hell, and the angel, that once banished will meet with its desire. So the angel's heaven is something that must be defeated, and by banishing the angel, we're giving him what he really desires? Okay, now, what do we know about the angel so far? It comes from somewhere else, it brings some kind of heaven, and by banishing it, we're giving it what it desires. And just as in Undertale, the role of an angel is filled by a character, some character from Deltarune should also fit this role. But before going through the possible candidates, what's an angel exactly? Angels are supernatural beings or spirits, often depicted with wings, who serves as spiritual or heavenly messengers, guardians or guides. This role often depends on their hierarchy, and funny enough, there are some characters in both games whose name has an angelic etymology. Turiel's name, for example, may be inspired by an angel named Turiel. That angel is said to be the 18th of the 20 leaders of the fallen angels. His name means Rock of God, or God is a mountain. Since she is the first friendly NPC we found after falling off the mountain, and the fact that she could be seen as a fallen one since she left New Home, that would make a level of sense. Azrael is well known what he represents. He is Azrael, the angel of death in Islamic tradition, specifically. And since the angel of the prophecy is precisely depicted as an angel of death, there is not much to interpret here. Also, Azrael ascends to the god of hyperdeath, so yeah, he is the angel of death. But there comes Rousey, and you may think that Rousey doesn't have a parallel with an angel, and that's where you're wrong. Because Rousey, despite being an anagram of Azrael, has a lot of similarities with Raziel, the angel of secrets. His name can be translated into God is my mystery. He's also known as the keeper of all magic, and in some depictions he is said to be a cherub, one of the highest orders of angels. An angel of secrets, a keeper of magic? That sounds a lot like Rousey. He knows some spells that doesn't tell Chris or Zuzi, and of course he already knows how the prophecy is gonna end, just like Raziel knows all about creation. But coming back to the main topic. Who is the angel anyways, and what does this all mean? The obvious candidate is, well, Azrael. He was the angel of the prophecy on the first game, so why should anyone else but him? And that's because there's something different than this equation. The Holiday family. They are the delta of this rune, the variable. And I know, during the 10th anniversary of Undertale, the presence of the Holiday family was soft retconned into Undertale. But as far as we know, they are new to the narrative, just as Susie of course, but tying all of this to the angel and the religious importance of the Deltarune. In some Christian tales, like the tale of Saint Hubert, features a stag on a Good Friday morning while the faithful made their way to the church. Hubert instead sailed forward to the chase, as he pursues the magnificent stag, the biggest buck. The animal turned its head. Hubert was astounded at the sight of a crucifix between its antlers. He heard a voice say, "Hubert, unless thou turnest to the Lord, and leadest a holy life, thou shalt quickly go down into hell." There are even older tales featuring a stag or a deer, like that of Saint Eustace. Eustace followed a deer into some woods and separated from the group of hunters. The deer turned towards him, and was struck by a vision where he sees the cross between the antlers of the deer. And in that moment, he is commanded by the voice of God to be baptized, along with his family, on that very night by the Bishop of Rome. Let's think about these two for a second, and you'll see what I mean. A deer warning a man to stay away from the forest. That evil was in the forest. If he were to go to the forest, he will be tempted by it. What if the deer in this case is Death, and instead of warning the saint, he tempted them? Or maybe Death was lured by this. The children followed the pointed tail of hell, where the forest would grow. And there's a theory among the fandom that Zez was the one who lured Chris and Noelle, being unknowingly or not, to the forest. And then something happened that made her disappear. But what was that temptation exactly? What was that December saw or wanted? Well, she wanted to see beyond. She wanted to be free. Of what exactly, we're not entirely sure. But in a previous video we discussed that Des wanted to see the Northern Light, and how the aurora and the color green is present in a lot of stuff related to freedom in Undertale and Deltarune. And there we concluded that green is not only the color of freedom, but also the color of the limits, the color of what's beyond. And that Des wanted to see beyond. She desired to reach the limit. And just as we saw that the deer in these stories is seen as a messenger, a guardian entity you may say, maybe Des is precisely this entity, or was meant to fulfill the role of this entity. But ultimately, she failed. She couldn't fulfill this role. She desired something, and so her heaven shall be vanished. Also, it's really funny to me the parallel with Gerson and Tolkien. Tolkien took a lot of inspiration from his faith to create the world of Middle-earth, that's not secret. Just as Gerson took inspiration from the religion of his world, the Deltarune, to write The Lord of the Hammers. That's why I think it's very important to know all of this to understand the meaning of the angels, but here's one last thing I wanted to add. What kind of angel is Des exactly? Or whoever fulfilled the role of the angel, since Noel is also a candidate to the angel. Don't make me mention the Thorn Ring and its similarities with the Crown of Thorns. Previously, I mentioned that the role of an angel differs depending on its hierarchy. From cherubim, from thrones, seraphims, guardian angels, watchers, archangels, and so on and so forth. What if I told you that there is more than one angel in this prophecy, although the second one is a bit more metaphorical? Whoever turns out to be the angel of heaven should be a seraphim. The imagery of the seraphim is not only present on the Titan, but also on the main door of Ralsei's castle. Seraphim are of the highest order of angels. Their name can be translated to the Burning Ones, and one thing consistent with their depictions is that they have 6 wings, like the 6 wings covering the Titan's face, or the 6 wings surrounding the door. These beings are also associated with the end of times, and since the Titan is one of these apocalyptic end of time entities, I see why they have them. And also, I don't believe that Ralsei is completely evil. His equivalent is that of a cherub. He is behind the Seraphim, of course. He is the keeper of secrets, going on by description of Raziel's story. He knows what will happen, but he was previously punished in his story. He wrote a book that contained all the information of the universe. When Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden, he gave the book to Adam. The other angels weren't pleased by this, and so they took the book from Adam and threw it into the sea. A secret lost to the sea. Where have I heard that before? A song that comes from the sea? A song that was lost? Calling the heroes? Tempting them with new information about themselves? Tempting them with the whole truth about the prophecy? So, you're telling me that there are secrets hidden under the sea. And do you know what else is related with the sea? Well, it turns out that the background image on the character creation screen is, in fact, a picture of the ocean. And we all know that this part is very mysterious and holds a lot of information about the true workings of this game, so there's definitely a connection here. But I digress. What is this other metaphorical angel I'm talking about? What if the Deltarune has the depiction of 2 angels? Of course, there's still the angel that is a seraphim. But if Ralsei is supposed to be a cherub, something funny about cherubs is they are depicted as having 4 heads. The head of a cherub, that being Ralsei. The head of a human, that being Chris. The head of a lion, representing the wildlife. That could be interpreted as Susie. And the head of an eagle? Okay, we should definitely ignore that is supposed to be Noel. What I'm trying to get across here is that maybe the 4 heroes of the prophecy, adding Noel into the equation, are the metaphorical representation of an angel, a cherub that is meant to face the seraphim and vanish its heaven. That seraphim being Des Holiday. She who brings a new kind of heaven. She who saw something she wasn't meant to see. And she who saw what was beyond the limit and beyond the green line. But anyways, that might be it for today. I really hope you liked the video, guys, and if that's the case, remember to leave a like, subscribe and hit the notification button. That really helps me and the channel. I'll still have one more video in store for the holiday season, not entirely related to Deltarune though. An entity that comes from beyond the stars. You may call him an angel or a king, but anyways. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.